So happy Friday, everyone. Oh my God. Jess, can I just like totally off topic?
Uh-huh.
Of course. But I don't how many of you get weird text messages? Like random weird text messages. I would just be fascinated to know. It seems like it's getting worse.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if it's where I'm hanging out. Dorothy, it's because the EU's got rules, I'm sure. I don't like go to weird websites or no, Steve, it wasn't your text.
It wasn't your HCM
Steve
question.
was texting me last night. It wasn't that. But I just look if I no one's gonna be able to read that. I just got one that said, "Come to my house to have Chinese food and chat tonight." Exclamation point.
Here's the question. Do you ever mess with the bot and
No, you're not supposed to do that. I
I
deleted.
know. I know some people that like to just mess with it, and I'm like, that's a mistake.
Oh, you see, Brian got the same thing. Uh,
A stranger's dinner.
yeah. Like so, one of these days, I'll take it out a 780 area code, which I don't even know where that is. But anyway,
Bob was.
um, enough of that. Happy Friday, everyone. I know we need to move on. Just a bunch of freaking weird banter, but hope everyone's had a great week. I spent most of my week in Dallas. Jess, you spent most of your week in San Francisco.
Back
So
in the
some
bed.
really interesting stories to share, I am sure. But let's start with the first thing, which is how is everyone? Green, yellow, red. Green, great. Red, not so good. Yellow, so-so. Um, Lynn, greener than green. Jess, I am actually really green because I am drinking a
Mm.
drink from our new sponsor. I'm just kidding. I love saying that, even though
Are you inviting
we
sponsorship
don't have
now?
any sponsors. Gorilla Mind.
Oh, nice.
Gorilla Mind is a really interesting drink, which has energy, but also has amplified focus, enhanced memory, increased productivity, elevated mental clarity, and no sugar or artificial colors. Quite the marketing, wouldn't you say?
It is quite the marketing. I'm always fascinated by like whatever's trending, you start seeing it on labels everywhere. Like things that don't necessarily need to be labeled vegan. You're like, okay, I know.
Yes. Everyone should try, if you're up for it, the Gorilla Mind. It's not overly caffeinated, but it's got some caffeine, but it has a lot of other things. And I really enjoy it, by the way.
Do you see
Yes, increased
Kelly?
productivity. It's not AI, but it is. And Dorothy, I'm glad you quoted my Substack. I'm not sure which one. Oh, yes, on your LinkedIn, I saw that. Thank you, Dorothy, for doing that. Um, the Substack works I'm trying to do are trying to go a little bit beyond HR technology these days, just because I think, well, I'm not going to go there on this call, but I think there's lots of things that we have to do beyond HR that HR needs to stop counting people and really thinking about how do we make people count and think about human machine teaming. So thank you for quoting that. And I'm green also, by the way. Thank you for asking. So, second question is the OBT sponsored by our friend. No, just kidding. One big thing, which is, Jess, I could really sell some sponsors for these segments, don't you think? No,
Yes.
probably. I could say I did. No one would buy anything. But one big thing. I'd love to hear in the chat what your one big thing was this week, everyone. Jess, oh, Opal, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
You want to hear me sing? No, just kidding.
Mhm.
I'm glad to see that was your birthday, Opal. Happy birthday. And based on the fact that you actually said what you were doing in 1987, I could actually figure out how old you are, but we're not going to go there. Um, but Jess, how about your one big thing? Started a 2-week birdathon fundraiser, have 20 birds. Both of
Chris,
us. So I was about to say, can I give? I was about to say, put the link in so we can donate, but then I was like, I don't have a bird. Oh, do you have to give money so you can? Wow, I'm lost on this one. Chris,
share your fundraiser and tell us in 10 words or less, what is a bird-a-thon? You already have 20 plus birds.
yeah, 20 birds. I like that. I'm happy to give birds. but I
Look
don't
at
know how.
Robin as like, hey, I'm Robin.
Yeah, I don't know how to give the birds though. Anyway, Jess,
I love
sorry.
that.
Wow, we really got thrown off for those listening. So, Jess, how about your one? People go out birding and count species.
Oh, I
Others
love that. I would
donate
totally love
per
that.
species. Well, Chris, I'm happy to donate if you want to put
Yes.
the link in the chat. Um, my brother-in-law is a what is it called, Jess? An orth. I should know what it is. Ornithologist or whatever we're supposed to, whatever the bird thing is. So anyway, happy to donate to that. I'm a big bird.
Oh, I love
I have
it.
lots of bird books around my house because of this.
I learn something new every single week. Um,
Come over and look at my bird books.
I will. Bailey
Okay.
wants to come back anyway. She keeps asking when we're going back to Jason's house.
Oh yeah, we got lots of bird books and lots of really cool like telescope micros or not microscopes, telescopes to look out over the
Identify birds.
yeah.
Wow. I love this. My one big thing for the week. Okay, so I went to Oracle. They have a spring analyst day, and it's not just for their HCM product, it's across their whole every across the platform, all of their applications, everything. So like hundreds of people fly in, all these analysts from all over the world, and we all are studying, caring about, looking at something different, which is kind of interesting when you get a broader analyst event where we're all there for different reasons and looking through our own lenses. And my favorite part was honestly talking to like a risk and cybersecurity person. At
Oh my
different,
God, you're such a geek.
I know,
Just
but
kidding.
it's helpful. I guess my point is it's helpful to, forest from the trees kind of thing, to pull back and see what we're all paying attention to as technology marches forward. For me, watching, and this isn't just about Oracle, we get to see a lot of the big technology providers in our space, their vision, their direction, what they're thinking about. And I wonder, Jason, how long it's going to take us to build ourselves right out of software. I mean, the future of agentic HCM, agentic anything, just put any agentic in front of anything. The new UI is no UI. What are we actually going to have to see? What is going to be left that we need to put operators in front of once we have built to the full potential of technology? It's really fascinating. It's a little mind cracking, but I love opportunities to think about that because it's important to think about how far this could go and what the design considerations are when operators aren't operating every part of the system on a daily basis. Lynn is all for it.
Yeah, it's you know what's really interesting, Jess, is mine is similar, and I don't know I don't know the answer to what I'm about to say. Tilly, uh, I'll read yours in a second because I like that topic as well. Mine is similar, and yeah, for some of you know this, some of you don't know this. I have a 20-year-old who is working in an incubator basically in Asia. And the stuff they're doing is insane. I think oh yeah, I shared a video about what they one of the
Mhm.
things that they're working on. But we had a really cool conversation this week, and he said, "Dad, I don't get this." And I was like, "Oh, okay." First of all, for him to say that like is weird, but then second of all, like, what don't you get? He goes, "I don't get why people don't understand that AI in 25 years is going to be able to do everything that a human can do."
Mhm.
And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, there's not a thing that in 25 years, which by the way is the difference between 2000 and 2025. Sorry for those of you that can count, but some of you that remember Y2K,
Yeah, yeah.
in 25 years, it's not. And that's not true, Chris, by the way. It now really quickly, one of the things I want to say is that he said this on purpose. He said there's a difference between can and will, like what we want and can and should, but the fact that it can, as he's watching robots, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as he's watching people at the McDonald's in Singapore, which has only one person working at it. McDonald's in Singapore only has one person working at it. There's no one else
Right.
making the food, taking the food, putting the fries in the fryer, et cetera, one person, all
Wow.
the rest robotic. Jess, you remember when you and I were in Singapore, who sat us, right?
Mhm.
A
Yeah.
robot.
Yeah.
Like we followed a robot basically to our table.
Yep.
Now, I didn't say it was a good experience, but that's who sat us. We didn't say a word to the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, really interesting to start to then say to someone who gets it like him and who's on the front line of development like him, to try to explain that human, quote unquote, that's not gonna work for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it. It's something that it was my one big takeaway for the week was, and I'm going to tie this back to really quickly because I know we're almost out of time. A CHRO executive event I was at in Dallas this week, where they said the number one thing they're dealing with is people not wanting to change.
Mm.
And I said, "What do you mean they're not wanting to change?" And they're like, "They're thinking about AI adoption. Our AI adoption is really, really low." And I did write the Substack a couple weeks ago about this on purpose, about the difference between embodiment and adoption.
Yep.
And I wish we would stop talking about adoption. I
Yeah.
just wish we would stop talking about adoption, because AI is not about adoption. It's about, what do I want to embody and change in how I am, how I think, how I work, how I interact, where I will use AI and I won't. Then I will adopt once I embody. But if I don't embody first, adoption isn't the only thing here. And I'll just
This is
shut
a,
up.
this
But
is
it
a
was a
whole, I mean, I've been saying forever, change has gotten a bad rap. It's not so much change has gotten a bad rap, it's that we expect people to learn technology instead of understanding technology learns us. And the goal is to adapt our behavior, not learn how to use a piece of software. That's not the goal. And so I think we'll change our language around change when we realize it's about adapting our behaviors, changing the way we work, and using tools to do that, not learning how to use a piece of tech for the sake of learning how it's designed. Tech should be designed for us as well. You won't have to drive adoption if tech is designed for humans, not training humans how to use tech. This whole thing, this whole mindset shift is so critical right now because the tech is galloping away from us.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And then I have to just do one more thing, and then we have to bring on our guest. Okay. But
Yes.
the other one big thing that I thought was really interesting for me is, I think I said this a couple weeks ago at the Twins game I was at.
Yep.
I said this last week on a LinkedIn event, and I said this week, that I think that the world of HR is almost dead. And it was so ironic that I got an email last night, and I didn't put it on LinkedIn yet. I mean, I did put it on LinkedIn, but I didn't actually call it out on LinkedIn, that somehow I was named one of the top 25 HR leaders
I saw that.
in the US. And I was like, oh my God, I wonder if I should reply and say, please don't put me on the list, but you know what I'm trying to say. Maybe it's people, maybe it's function, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but it's not the name HR. And
Yeah.
that's what I hope we can get people down this path eventually.
Welcome, Ritu. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you okay.
Good, good. I'm so happy you're here.
And look at
Um,
her smile. Like, that's the biggest smile I've seen all week, Jess. Ritu, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, it's great to be here on a Friday evening, and the sun is shining in London as well. I'm Ritu. I joined VONQ about 11 months and 3 weeks ago, or I should say, just coming up to my first year, and I survived. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to live and work in India. I grew up in India. I've lived in Germany, Austria, France, UK, a small stint in San Francisco way back when. I've spent about 20 years of my career in HR tech space, and I couldn't agree more with you, Jason. I always say what lives in HR dies in HR. Partnering with global enterprises to solve big talent challenges, whether it's scaling teams, whether it's transforming employee experience, whether it's transforming hiring processes or bringing new tech to life. And along the way, I've helped build go-to-market strategies and drive growth for some fantastic organizations such as Glint, LinkedIn, IBM, Connexa, and now at VONQ. And all of this experience has now brought me to VONQ, where I now get to sit in the CEO seat for the very first time, which has been quite the adventure, to say the least. And I am excited to really help lead innovation and not AI adoption, exactly as you said, but really sort of AI becoming part of the lives of everyone in the hiring world. And we at VONQ have this mission to make recruitment smarter and more human at the same time.
I love that, Ritu. I think the quote that Steve's talking about is, he's going to steal the quote. Is it the one that said, "What lives in HR dies in HR"? Ritu, I like that. I haven't heard that. Can you talk a little more about that? Because I think
Absolutely.
it's part of the transformational mindset that we need moving forward.
Couldn't agree more. I think I've said it to CHROs of very, very large global enterprises for the last 20 years. And I was at Connexa running employee experience and employee engagement for EMEA and India. And every time I went to the boardroom and we looked at the engagement results and how they're trying to drive experience for employees, it all came down to, oh, what does HR think? Well, it's not an HR topic. It's not the HR should be driving this initiative. This is leaders' initiative. This is leaders' responsibility and accountability. So please move this from HR and move this to the CEO, move this to the C-suite. And I said this every single time I walked into a room, that it's not about HR. It's not HR driving this. HR is enabling everyone. They're bringing the tools in-house. They're trying to empower the leaders and managers. But at the end of the day, it's a responsibility of every individual and every leader in the organization. So what lives in HR totally dies in HR.
I love that. I love Bob's comment. In hindsight, at IBM, smarter workforce was a bit premature. Have we not?
Did you work with this Bob Pulver? You said you overlapped at IBM. You guys know each other?
Oh my gosh. Now you put me in the spot.
Oh, okay. Well, you overlapped. So I thought you were gonna say, "Oh my gosh, that guy's such a freak" or something, because he's an amazing he's an amazingly smart guy in the AI space, part of our community. So yeah, someone we love.
I'm sure you overlapped with a lot of people at IBM. But I love even what you said about making recruiting smarter and more human, and IBM's old mantra, smarter workforce. We've been saying all of this stuff for quite a long time. Have we not reached a seminal moment where the technology is not just available, it's more than available? Like, we finally have the tooling to make some of this stuff more realistic, more business impactful, more measurable, more iterative. It's all real time, so we can build on insights, not assumptions. I feel like the tech finally caught up. I hope I'm not just like wishful thinking and jumping on the bandwagon, but I actually feel like the tech caught up to the vision. I think HR has had a hard time, and recruiting leaders, insert discipline area. We've had a hard time making good on promises to the business because everything is lagging. The HR function is lagging because its data is lagging. And so now it's not just time, it's like the moment of responsibility to actually do what you know needs to be done.
Totally couldn't agree more. And for all the time I have worked in the world of work, I've heard everyone talk about candidate experience, and yet it truly is still broken. If I think about a candidate, let's just picture this. A candidate finds a job and they go, oh, that's really exciting. I really want to apply for this job. They get very excited to say, I must apply. And then when they go through the application process, they upload a CV, then they complete the whole CV, type it up. Then they have to get this form with 10 screening questions. And then it goes into a black box and they get ghosted and they never hear back. And I think we've been talking about this for almost 20 years. And I think finally, if I may claim, that we're here finally, with the agentic AI world to help solve some of those candidate experience issues that we've been talking about.
So Ritu, I agree with you, but I would love, because you're so good with words.
The opposite.
No, like, so I'd love to hear you explain, like, a lot of people are saying what you just said. Like, I think with agentic AI, we're finally blah, 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 blah. Like, I've tried to say that and people look at me like I'm an alien, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, what makes you say that? Like, maybe you can do a better job of explaining that than I do.
Absolutely. Let me take a stab. And this isn't a promotion on VONQ, by the way. But as I said, the experience is pretty brutal when candidates go to apply. They get excited, they're full of hope, and then you hit a wall of forms. Finally, you go through the process, you complete it, you go through the screening questions, nothing, no response, no feedback, just silence. And the real kicker, about 90% of these candidates never actually complete the process. And that's a massive drop off. And it's not just anymore about candidate experience in that way. It's now becoming a business problem. We're wasting time, we're wasting money, and we are certainly wasting those great talent because the system is frankly outdated. So what VONQ has set out to do is we've seen this firsthand. We've got this incredible media team, and we use programmatic technology for our customers and AI to drive great traffic to this job ad, whether it's in LinkedIn, whether it's in Indeed, or anywhere else. But we often found that those candidates, qualified, interested, they just don't convert. And when we ask the question why, because the application process crushed their enthusiasm. So we've decided to flip the script. What we've basically said, let's make the candidate journey more humane. Let's simplify the application process. Let's give them real-time feedback as they're going through the journey of application. And this is a big one, put an end to ghosting. And that's where the agentic AI comes in. It actually helps interact with the candidates in real time. It guides them. I say like a concierge, answering their questions, giving them feedback, sometimes even doing a first round interview. But it's not about automation. It's about intelligent support. It's about humane support. And when we focus on helping these candidates, first, we really discovered something really surprising. It wasn't just good for them. It improved recruiter efficiency. It empowered recruiters and elevated their roles. Of course, the time to hire and even the ROI for our customers. And I think that's what I'm talking about. So our mission is clear. Make the process easier, fairer, and more transparent. And in doing so, we build this trust in hiring. Because when candidates feel respected, trusted, given feedback, they stay in the process. And then when everyone wins.
And I would even add now, technology, and not just now, it's been for some time, the fact that technology makes even finding each other, job seekers finding appropriate, relevant jobs, jobs finding the types of talent pools that would be qualified to apply. That is so smart, sophisticated, data-driven, intelligent, that if we even find each other, there's a pretty good chance, there should be, in a well-designed system, there should be a pretty good chance you want me to express interest and apply. You want us to go through this mutual self-selection process where we understand if this is the right fit, and if not this job, what about more broadly in terms of the organization? And so it's not about attracting everybody to the top of the funnel and then dumping as many of them out of the bottom as you can. It's not a volume game anymore. I think that's part of what was so disrespectful about the process. You attracted more than you needed to. And your system was never designed to disqualify them appropriately, or if they don't need disqualification, to get them through that self-selection process in a way that even felt good, let alone created a qualified applicant for the business to consider. And so I also love how this conversation is changing from a volume game to more of a quality game. And it makes it even more important that that experience be appropriate for everybody. We talked earlier, Ritu, I love the question sometimes, what about job seekers using AI? Yeah. What about? Why wouldn't we want to assist job seekers in finding appropriate jobs, not just jobs, but the organizations who have those types of jobs, and to be able to participate on equal terms in a qualification process. What's so wrong with that? And I'd love you to comment on this. Where do we draw the line in terms of job seekers creating custom resumes against the job, showing up with AI assistants and tools to present themselves in the interview process? Slippery slope, I get it, but generally I'm a fan of agency for job seekers to participate on equal footing.
Good. So agree, Jess. Let me switch this first. How can candidates and job seekers show up authentically by using AI? How can it help them? First,
Yes.
it's just the whole idea of transparency builds trust. And if agentic AI, which EU AI Act suggests you have to, if you can explain, so the explainability of the scoring and ranking of candidates already builds trust. Okay, if I would have gotten a black box, but I know now that I'm the 10th percentile in this candidate pool. That's building trust. So this helps candidates show up authentically. Second, AI should empower, not decide. Again, EU AI Act suggests absolutely there's no decisions can be made by AI. The decisions need to be made by humans. So as the candidates see that, they become more authentic. This is a level playing field. Everyone's assessed exactly the same for this specific job. And the decision will not be made by an agent, AI agent. Then this is the third element I always see is this consistency, confidence. Unlike human-led screening, which can be very biased or bandwidth driven, the agents, or at least our agentic AI, brings consistency and fairness to every application interaction or applicant interaction rather. Whether it's the same questions, it's the same criteria, it's the same scoring model, and that creates a level playing field for every job seeker, especially those for non-traditional backgrounds. And finally, it's that respect, that real-time feedback. I can tell you, you're missing one key criteria. Can you answer this question for me? And real-time updates and transcripts that the candidates go, okay, I know now I should invest time because I stand a very good chance of getting this job. So that's when AI helps people show up as their best selves, when it reduces bias, when it's language support and accessibility, when it's confidence through preparation. And I'm a real believer, and believe it or not, I use AI, and ask me the list of all the different AI tools I use. I use AI for pretty much everything in my life now in terms of just whether it's content, whether it's anything. So absolutely, job seekers must use AI in terms of writing a really good CV if they feel like, or writing a good cover letter, or trying to sort of understand the culture or research. Absolutely, you must. Even for interview preparation, please get structured responses. And how do you sort of particularly handle certain objections, etc. questions? Do it. However, I think where the line needs to be drawn is when they use AI in an actual live interview, where the AI suggests the answers they should give for a particular question. AI. That's when.
Is that actually happening?
Oh, yes. And I'll give you an example in our real life, but it hinders real authenticity. Over optimization or coaching to game the system. That's when it starts to say, okay, don't outsmart the AI. Don't risk getting a performance and not a person. And employees
The
may.
tool you demoed, Jason, a couple weeks ago, that would be an example of a job seeker and a hiring manager using an interface.
Yeah. Do you see David's question there? I don't know if you. Wow. I want to talk about that word cheating in a second also. Dorothy, that you just put in there. But David's question said, are you concerned about assigning agency to HR tech and the potential exposure? Jess, what do you think about that? Did you guys talk about that? That sounds like something you would have talked about at Oracle.
Not that particular. So the lawsuit you're referring to, Mobley versus Workday, and there are other lawsuits. We've seen HireVue come under the gun for this, for video interviewing technology. It's sort of auditability of the experience is important, because understanding what is being reviewed, who and how decisions are being made and gates are being opened at certain points in the process is really critical here. And to your point, Ritu, you've already made, a human in the loop is part of that auditability trail. It's understanding that data is being used to present a slate of candidates, a profile, like data presents information, and then a human makes decisions based on a supported data profile. Yes, Steve, the resume is not the person, the posting is not the job. And so that's what that. So understanding whether or not you were screened in or out and the role that technology played, a human has to validate decisions at those critical junctures. And that's what Workday will present in their lawsuit, or already has. That's what HireVue has defended before. Every technology since the dawn of time and moving forward will have to present its case in terms of, we present information, we hold data, we reveal insights. Humans are left to make judgment, well-grounded, data-driven decisions based on what technology can share and present.
Yeah, and we support AI in the workplace, and when it comes to interviews, it makes it really hard for hiring managers to evaluate that real person behind the screen. And we're hearing this so much, and we have a live example in our own organization, and that's why our R&D team is now building actual tools to detect when AI is being used, particularly during interviews or in applications. Kind of like heads up display for recruiters, a dashboard that is, sort of scoring how human these answers appear to be. But it's turning out to be a bit of an arms race. And it's not just applications. We're hearing reports, some pretty extreme, of employees using AI, not just to help them with the work, but to stimulate doing work. There have even been cases of full-on fake workers. I think someone mentioned in the chat. So we're in this era where we need smarter systems to evaluate output and impact, not just activity.
Yeah. So Ritu, I want to have this conversation, and I'm curious, and I'm struggling with it also. And it's not going to be about talent acquisition. Well, it could be, but it's going to be in general. This word cheating, like I'm actually quite, well, I know I'm sick of it this week because I've heard it way too much. And I'm trying to think about, like, why? Like, why are people saying AI is cheating? Like, I got a new laptop here. Like, is that cheating? Because it makes me more productive? Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, mentally. And I get it. I mean, I could make an argument. I could, if I really wanted to, as to why I could say this is cheating. But like that's a really strong statement. You know what I mean? And even what Dorothy just said, AI isn't cheating, it's the person using it, which I think Dorothy just said the person using it is cheating.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I have to jump in, Ritu, and then you're gonna. Cheating is the perception of unfair advantage. If your mom did your science project, you probably cheated. That's unfair advantage. If you wrote the math answers on your hand, that's cheating. You gave yourself unfair advantage. You went against the rules of order that say what is fair in terms of judging and evaluating your performance. Is AI unfair advantage? Not if it's distributed for equal opportunity and equal distributed impact. So should you give job seekers fair advantage in the process? Yes. Like, this is all about expressing general rules of agreement about how both parties show up in a fair, unbiased, balanced, equalized power sort of way. So it's only unfair advantage if everybody doesn't have the same set of tools to work with. It's
Jess, you and I, just really quickly, you and I, like, at some point are going to have like with Dorothy, I want to have like an on stage with Dorothy, just because she's so good in the chat.
yes.
And because it's so, I just love her. But she just said, if a person is reading an AI answer on their phone in an interview, I think she's saying that's cheating. But so the question is, when do we change ourselves
Right.
to ask different questions where someone can't quote unquote cheat, instead of trying to say, let's hold back people from making themselves more advanced.
Yes.
So Ritu, I
Jason,
don't know
I
if you have
don't know if
anything.
you remember, I don't know if you remember, Jason, when we were Leap Gen pre-Mercer, we were still a smallish boutique consulting firm. I audited our own hiring process. And the best thing I did to make our process more humane was insert one question. Do you require any accommodation to show up in the best light possible? It was a simple candidate question,
Oh,
but
love
inserted in
that.
our process. Tech can do that. For us, it was a human question. Do you require any accommodation to show up in the best light possible? We keep talking about AI and unfair advantage and cheating and whatever. This is about a two-way conversation. The hiring process is a two-way street, extending a bit of agency to candidates to humanize the process, to recognize the need for accommodation, to make a process more accessible. This is the same conversation since the dawn of time. And now we get to have this conversation with AI. What tools, what parts of the process can be modified? How can we help candidates, appropriate, potentially right fit candidates, self-select themselves in as we assess their fit for the organization? It's a very humane kind of conversation to have, in my mind, but I tend to get ethereal about these things.
I agree with everything you said, and I also think this whole it's so debatable. What do we classify as cheating? I've got two growing boys. They love ChatGPT, and they love using ChatGPT for lots of things related to their schoolwork. And there's a point where we say, of course, if you're exploring and if it's helping you become more curious, absolutely use options of using ChatGPT. But if they've got to read a book before they go back to school and they haven't read it because they just cannot be asked to read that book and guess, oh, ChatGPT, give me a summary. I do call that cheating because you haven't put in the work.
Yeah.
Read the book and go back to school and say, I've read the book. Rather, I've read the summary because that's good enough for me. I consider that cheating. Same in the real world work. I think if it enables you, aids you, and removes that unfair advantage, as you said, Jess, then absolutely please use ChatGPT or any forms of AI. But when you're trying to pretend to be someone else, so you can be smarter and give better responses and be more intelligent or be inauthentic, then it's cheating.
Yeah.
I might sound controversial, but then it's cheating. If, for example, a candidate our CTO was interviewing, and he gave perfect responses to every technical question. And then my CTO is like, this is too good to be true. Okay, what's your favorite coffee shop in your neighborhood? And he couldn't answer that question. He just couldn't. He was like, oh. And I'm a coffee snob. I'm like, okay, he's not even going to be hired if he can't even say what coffee shop is his favorite coffee shop, but just jokes apart. But that itself, that meant he did not bring his authentic self in that interview. And he was going to be perhaps hired for all the wrong reasons to join this company. And I think that's cheating.
Yeah.
I think that's the line you've got to draw. But it's a difficult one.
Megan, you're so sweet. I miss Leap Gen. We're still Leap Gen here. Come on. But this whole calculator conversation, Ritu, which I think is really, really interesting. Jess, I already have my Saturday Substack post here based on this.
Oh, it's already generating in your head.
But so with calculators, what did we do when calculators showed up? We said, hey, you can bring a calculator, but guess what? You have to show your work. Like, what if we said show your prompt?
Yeah.
Good question. Good point.
Like, well, what's the issue with that?
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. Hey, you used a tool, but show your prompt. I'm just wondering, well, like what the difference is.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Jason. And going back to the earlier question you made, are we making it harder by asking questions to trip candidates sometimes? And then they are forced to use AI to help them respond to that. And again, I keep coming back to, and that's why this whole skills-based hiring, which is probably for another day,
Yeah.
Every organization is talking about we are, driven by skills. We don't even ask the questions about which school did you go to or what was your last role. But that's not entirely true. And this is where we can create a level playing field by shifting from matching to scoring paradigm. And I say this, I think I mentioned this to you yesterday as well, Jess. And in the EU, for the EU AI Act, that's a huge regulatory driver. That it's a high risk area, and that means that any AI assessments need to be transparent and explainable. And a traditional matching system is often a black box. It finds similar candidates based on past examples with the same job titles, but you don't really know why it made that decision. And that's not acceptable anymore under the new standards. And this matching really reinforces bias. Because if you feed an AI your past success hires and ask it to find more people like them, you're essentially codifying and scaling where the biases were already baked into your previous decision. So instead of that, we basically said, okay, we score candidates using 15 predefined criteria that are designed to be fair, to be relevant for that specific job and explainable. And the idea is let's help that candidate get as close to being a hire by helping them figure out if they stand a chance or not. So we ignore characteristics that can introduce bias and focus on what really matters. So for example, let me give you, sort of really quick examples. Say a bartender wants to apply for a customer support role. A matching system probably rejects that application almost immediately. Different job titles, different industries, you've never done a customer facing role. But a scoring system or agentic AI sees the transferable skills. They see that this bartender is used to following instructions. It deals with difficult customers. It manages high stress situations, and it shows up on time. So a good bartender is actually a great listener, and those skills translate directly into a support role. That's the power that we can move into by using agentic AI. It opens doors for people with the right abilities, not just the right resume or keywords. And I think that's why I think this whole shift into agentic AI and creating a level playing field, and again, cheating is another aspect, but I do believe that there is a line where you use AI so much as a job seeker that it crosses the line of saying, are you still authentic? Are you sure this is the right job or this is the right organization for you? Probably
I love that. You
tangent.
just described the thing that I'm most excited about with the opportunities of AI, and that is to uncover and present hidden talent, hidden skills, can close gaps by more proactively identifying the gaps, but then having more creative options for filling them and solving for them. That's where that's data gymnastics that would take us a while to get to valid, meaningful insights, let alone solutions, that is now so much more possible with the ways that we can use tech for good. I feel like I always have to say for good at the end of everything, because this is a design consideration. You have to start with that outcome in mind, which any organization that says they're leaning into skills for what? For what purpose? Are you hoping to identify hidden talent? Are you hoping to accelerate performance? Are you like, there's got to be a for what in that statement, and then you can back yourselves into how tech and skills can be used as levers.
Couldn't agree more. Wow, this audience is really active. I love it.
I want to go back and read this whole chat log. This is such a great discussion.
One of the things I think that's really interesting for me is this whole critical thinking thing that we talk about. Like,
Yeah.
when Dorothy said that, like, I love Dorothy. Sorry, I keep saying it. How many times have I said that? Like, for me, like, AI could create me 10 resumes in a second. So, like, when Dorothy says, is that cheating? We don't need to answer that. But critical thinking comes into play, like, which one would I actually present? And then which one can I defend in real life in a conversation?
Yeah.
Like, that's to me where critical thinking comes into play in a situation like this. Or like I can create a bunch of bullet points in AI, but critical thinking actually turns it into something that's an argument worth having. So I think that if our concept is just the output,
Right.
then I think I understand, I guess. I wouldn't call it cheating still. I think you're just creating trash. I think critical thinking turns the trash into a treasure. And that's like where critical thinking comes into play.
I'm going to steal those words for my kids, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, I mean, just as I think through it, but I just don't see it. I just don't see that. I don't see that this is blocking critical thinking unless you do, unless you just take unless you just take output and use it the way it is without giving it a thought, which
Right.
there's danger in that. But there's also a danger in copying something off of Google or making a photocopy of you, like I used to do. You all know how old I am now, making a photocopy of an encyclopedia page and turning it in. You know what I mean? I don't see the difference except, well, I don't see the difference.
Yeah, and if I may add just one more example, it's a very trivial one, but nevertheless, also when you're using any of these tools to aid better writing or better content, take the time, put some effort into it. Like, don't just spit it out as is. And that's another, it's almost about respect. And back to your thing about picking the right
I like
bits.
that respect. You're right.
Yeah. It's critical thinking and it's also respect. Don't just blatantly copy paste something. Put some effort and show that you care, and that shows demonstrates respect. And for me, that matters a lot. So I always tell people use AI, but don't make it so blatantly obvious about that. Just put some effort, put some care, put some respect. And I think that for me is also really important besides this whole aspect. And I love this critical thinking point. As long as you can think critically and use the output intelligently and make sense of it, I think it's okay.
But is our problem this cheating mindset? I mean, is that what's going to hurt us at the end of the day and actually getting to a point where we're going to leverage this technology? I'm just curious.
Yeah. What do
I
you
think
think,
it
Jess?
comes down to having a means to an end. If the means to an end is producing the right answer to clear this gate and get to the next question, like we might think about a job interview or getting through a pre-selection, pre-screening process, like, is that the goal, or is have a good match the goal? And that should be a mutual goal. Like the candidate should want that outcome as much as the hiring manager. I'm writing an article with one of my brilliant colleagues, Tyler Mullins, around data. The role of data, like talk about geeks, the role of data in supporting transformation. Data alone is not the end game. That's not the goal. Having accurate data is not your win. The data isn't valuable because it's accurate. It's valuable when it produces the right outcomes. This is what AI helps to support. This is using AI as a tool means we have more real-time, accurate information to do something. For what end? For what purpose? AI isn't a means to an end. It supports an outcome you want. And if every stakeholder around the table agrees to that, then it won't be cheating. You'll look at an opportunity to get to the right outcome more efficiently, perhaps. This is a whole mindset thing.
It really is. I say that it's seeing AI as an opportunity, not a threat, first and foremost. Viewing AI as a tool to augment teams, not just automate tasks. It's about using AI to optimize your work or reimagine work, not just to replace. So I think that for me is a real shift in mindset, because everyone keeps talking about it. Will it replace humans? Will it replace jobs? Will it replace recruiters? That's not the point. It's a shift in how will AI enable us to be better humans, to be better at our jobs, to be better in whatever we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I said this to a CHRO. I think we're treating AI as a loophole, not a lever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this cheating thing. And Dorothy just said, I know we're almost out of time. Dorothy said, and what happens when you turn up on the day with no access to AI? Oh, Dorothy.
Have Dorothy
Dorothy,
ask them.
how does that happen? Just out of curiosity, how does that ever happen? But that's a different discussion for a different day.
Yeah.
If it's in my glasses or it's on my phone, like that's like Dorothy saying, how do I show up at work and I'm not going to have a phone or a computer or anything like that? I just curious as to what that possibly could look like. And yes, Stacy, no company should prevent you from having access to AI. Yeah, it's such a
Unassisted.
great,
No AI is unassisted, temporarily unassisted, perhaps.
it's such a fascinating. Ritu, I'm sorry, we got way off
Oh,
probably
it's
track.
fascinating. I would love a copy of this chat so I can read each one of them because it's so
We'll make
meaningful.
sure. Yeah, we'll make sure we get that for you. Yeah, it's a great discussion. We should actually
thanks
do
for
that,
coming
Jess, send
on.
the chat out to everyone today.
I
Not
know.
about the bird feeder, but all the rest of it. Jess, I'll let you, because I mean, I know we're out of time, but I'll let you, Jess, if you want to ask one last question.
I'm not going to ask one last question. I'm going to tell you, Ritu, I'm sending you a book.
Ooh.
Ritu and I had connected yesterday as women and moms. And I bought this book for myself and an extra one to send to my best friend. So Elizabeth, if you're watching, close your ears right now. And I'm going to send a copy to you. Because Mother's Day is coming up in the US next weekend. It's called There Are Moms Way Worse Than You.
Oh.
And it is the cutest book. It is so beautifully illustrated. It says irrefutable proof that you are indeed a fantastic parent. And it gives all these silly, goofy examples of animals in the wild kingdom who do these things. And look at us. We're not so bad. We're actually doing pretty amazing. And so
You've made my day, Jess. You made my
because
day.
we connected like that yesterday, I'm sending you my extra book.
I'm
And
honored.
everybody
I'm
should
honored.
pick this one up. It is so cute. If you still need a Mother's Day present out there, buy it.
Thank you, Ritu, for being here. Really, great conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
Have a weekend,
everybody.
I think we
everyone.
need to have Ritu back, don't you, Jess?
I know.
Oh.
Yeah, or maybe a repeat guest. Sorry, it's late there to do this, Ritu.
It's not late. It's, we've got a long weekend. So this is a great start. I'm going to go get myself a gin and tonic now.
I love it.
And Dorothy, your comment, you never piss me off. No, that's not what it's. You make me think,
Yes.
which is the best thing a human can do to another. So
Yeah.
thank you, Dorothy.
You guys are amazing. I've never seen a chat be more engaged. So this is the best.
I told
And
you.
I felt like a celebrity for an hour. So thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Our pleasure.
Thanks for being here.